In the dark of night, a fancy black car stops by tall buildings. A man in a dark suit gets out. He is received by two other people who are in suits as well, who were waiting for him. He looks confident as he walks on the empty street. Our MC is the DG Group's Strategic Development Department manager named Lee Joo-yuk, or so to say, as it is nothing but a facade, a fake identity which is written on his business card. But in reality, there is a twist to it. "Welcome back, sir." All of the people present in the room bow their head down and greet Lee Joo-hyuk as he gets out from the elevator. Yep, you guessed it right. He is the action leader of a gang corporation. DG Group of Company, ranking third in the financial circle, is actually created with gangsters as its core. In fact, it's a hooligan corporation, and our MC, who has lived as a gangster for 15 years, is an undercover police officer. He is in charge of investigating a person named Ju Cheol-soo, because that person not only created a group of gangsters, Ju Cheol-soo is a man that reached up to the position of a leading chairman. Lee Joo-hyuk's responsibility is to find evidence that could prosecute Ju Cheol-soo. Lee Joo-hyuk has gathered up many information, and in order to turn into the police, he just has to find a little more conclusive evidence. Lee Joo-hyuk thinks that if he can gather a little bit more information, he can surely send that person to prison. At that moment, he receives a message from an anonymous number. The message informed every skilled dealers to stay on standby at the Gwangjang Corporation. After seeing the message, Lee Joo-hyuk quickly gets out and calls for the elevator. "To go to Gwangjang in 10 minutes? Whose order is it this time?" Lee Joo-hyuk wonders as he gets ambushed by hordes of gangsters. "Get him! And finish him!" all of them shouts. "Oh no. I'm screwed for real this time," Lee Joo-hyuk thinks as he fights a battle of death. The gangsters overpower Lee Joo-hyuk, and in the end he faints. When he regains his senses, he notices that he has been tied up with tape. The person who kidnapped Joo-hyuk says that he respected Joo-hyuk. The man praises Joo-hyuk because Joo-hyuk, even in a dire situation where he is completely surrounded by enemies, he defeated half of them all by himself. The man opens the tape that was covering Joo-hyuk's mouth. "Sir, why are you doing this?" Joo-hyuk asks. The man replies that Joo-hyuk knows the answer to that better than anyone else. "Or are you asking because you really don't know? You are a police officer, aren't you?" The man questions. The man compliments Joo-hyuk for keeping his composure intact, even though his cover's been blown. "These days, you cops are so stubborn. Where do you learn this stuff?" the man asks. Lee Joo-hyuk says that he wants to know the name of the person who ratted him out. "How the hell would I know that?" the man replies while lighting a cigarette. The man says that it was an order from the higher-ups. "Who in the world stabbed me in the back? Chief Song? Director Park? Detective Yoon?" Lee Joo-hyuk wonders hopelessly. "Hey, Joo-hyuk, do you have any idea how much the chairman adored you, yet you dare lie to us for 15 years? The man questions. The man says it's really a shame that they need to kill a person like Joo-hyuk, who is excellent at his job. After hearing this, Joo-hyuk glares at the man. The man asks, "What's that look for?" The man tells Joo-hyuk to speak his last words. Since the man has grown on Joo-hyuk over the years, he says that he would at least hear them out. Joo-hyuk tells the man to deliver a message to Ju Cheol-soo. The message is to tell Ju Cheol-soo to drop dead. Ha 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 ha. The man laughs loudly. Even though Ju Cheol-soo is over 60, he's still a lively old man. I think it'll be a while before he follows after you. Don't you think? The man mocks Lee Joo-hyuk and leaves after saying his last goodbye. Another underling gangster comes near Joo-hyuk. The man says that he also respected Joo-hyuk, but now he is nothing but a disappointment. As the man gets closer with his knife, Joo-hyuk kicks the man in the ankle. "Ah!" The man shouts and bends down a little. In the next moment, he again kicks the man in the jaw. Due to that, the man's knife falls. Joo-hyuk rotates his chair and catches the knife with 2 fingers. Joo-hyuk tells everyone that they are still at the entry level because they can't even do a single job properly. He says that the tape should have been made tighter. "Bring it on then," Joo-hyuk shouts while pointing at the gangsters with the knife. Hordes of gangsters rush towards Joo-hyuk. He blocks one of their knives and fights vigorously while keeping his surroundings in check. One of the gangsters tries to attack him from the back, but Joo-hyuk blocks it. Joo-hyuk realizes that he is going to die here today, but he still intends to keep fighting to the end. In the situation of life and death, the face of his late father came to mind. In the past, it all began with an unfortunate accident. 12 civilians had fallen into the railway of the metro due to the actions of a druggie. Joo-hyuk's father rescued them, but in the end he couldn't rescue himself. Joo-hyuk thinks that his father will definitely be in heaven while fighting the hooligans. "If I die, will I be able to go there too?" he wonders. Joo-hyuk remembers that as an undercover police officer, he has done many filthy things. While he is getting stabbed from all over the place, will even someone like me be accepted in heaven? Joo-hyuk wonders as he takes his last breath. In the next moment, a phone falls, and we see that Joo-hyuk has regressed to the year 2005. What the? No matter how much I look at it, this doesn't seem like heaven? Lee Joo-hyuk wonders as he gets confused. Year 2005, Joo-hyuk comes back to a time not soon after his father's death. How was I able to come back to this day after crossing through dozens of years? Was it thanks to my father? Joo-hyuk wonders while trying to understand the gravity of the situation. Joo-hyuk's father was a righteous man who saved people at the cost of his own life. Joo-hyuk thinks that something like this might be possible if his father helped him from heaven. He is now feeling this vibrant sensation which proves that it's intact, the reality. Joo-hyuk remembers that now he has 200 million in his account. The 100 million reward that his father received from the government for being a righteous man, and another 100 million that he received after being discharged. It was not some ordinary discharge. Fortune Publishing is a shell company used to conceal affiliation, and Joo-hyuk was part of the headquarters intelligence detachment. After 4 years of service, 100 million is given upon being discharged. He was tempted by those words and applied. It was a decision for Joo-hyuk's father who had raised Joo-hyuk on his own. But, when he thinks back to it, it was a crazy thing to do. Since he has done everything he needed to do at home, he decides to head out. Songpang-gu, a city before its redevelopment. As Joo-hyuk walks through its familiar streets, the reality of coming back to the past hits him. He is renewing his old memories while seeing similar stores and stops. Joo-hyuk remembers that after his father's sudden death, to deal with his sadness, he spent each day in a drunken stupor. After living like a bum for over a year, upon seeing his emptying bank account, he suddenly had the thought that he should at least do something. He realizes that back then he shouldn't have become a police officer, so he decides to forget all about it since it'll no longer happen in the future. Joo-hyuk stops upon seeing a familiar karaoke bar. That karaoke bar was closed. Oh! If it's 2005, that's before it was closed down, right? Joo-hyuk remembers. He gets happy to think that even a day will come when he will be able to see this again. The owner of the bar treated Joo-hyuk really well when he was a part-timer here. He wonders how the owner is doing right now. But suddenly he hears someone shouting, "What the hell did you say? Are you kidding with me right now? Why don't you sell alcohol at a karaoke bar?" One of the street gangster asks. The owner of the shop says sorry to the man, but he explains that this karaoke bar is registered as a vocal practice room, so they don't sell alcohol. Bullshit. In our town, they all sold it. "Are you looking down on us for being from the countryside?" the man asks. The owner tries to convince the gangsters, but they ignore the owner's words. The man thinks that the owner is looking down on him. Then, he grabs the owner by his collar. The owner tries to scare them by bringing the name of police. The man throws the owner to the ground and tells the bar owner to call the police if he wants. At that moment, Joo-hyuk enters the bar. "Who is it this time?" the man asks. Joo-hyuk ignores the man and tells the owner to wait for a moment as Joo-hyuk is going to call the police. Ha! Look at him! You have guts, that's for sure. Hey, do you fight at all? The man asks angrily while holding Joo-hyuk's shoulders. Joo-hyuk topples the man and pins him to the ground. Urgh! The man shouts in pain. How dare they use violence? Joo-hyuk questions furiously. After seeing Joo-hyuk's skills, everyone hesitates to fight. Joo-hyuk then knocks out everyone and calls an ambulance. He tells them that there is a patient that cannot move due to injuring the hips in a fall. Sir, are you all right? Joo-hyuk asks. The owner asks why Joo-hyuk has come here. Joo-hyuk advises the owner not to talk and suggests him to take deep breath. Joo-hyuk adds that he has already called the ambulance and tells the owner to hold on just a little longer. Ugh! The man shouts in pain while thanking Joo-hyuk. After some moments, the ambulance arrives. The ambulance driver asks Joo-hyuk whether he has any injuries as well. Joo-hyuk replies that he is fine. The ambulance then leaves after taking the patient. Now then. How will you compensate your damages? Joo-hyuk asks the gangsters. Joo-hyuk says that the reason why he didn't hand over the gangsters to the police is because he wants something from them. Joo-hyuk says that paying the hospital fees is a given, and additionally, $12 million in settlement fees and another $12 million in repair and emotional damage costs. He tells them to prepare 24 million won each, which is around 19,000 US dollars. Joo-hyuk says that he is sure that a total of 72 million won can even fix the wounded heart of the owner. The gangsters feel like they are being robbed because they didn't even damage the building. They ask how they are supposed to gather such a large amount. Joo-hyuk says that if someone saw him doing this, he would think of him as a loan shark, but he tells the gangsters that if they are going to hit someone, they must also prepare to pay the damages when they get caught. It's not like anyone threatened you to be violent, and your financial situation is none of my business. When will you get it by? 72 million won, Joo-hyuk asks. After hearing this, the gangsters look pretty depressed. Joo-hyuk tells them that if they don't have any money, they should make some. Joo-hyuk suggests them that there's a construction site out front that is building an apartment, and he happens to know the chief. If they work hard enough, they'll be able to receive 100,000 won a day. He says that if they work 6 days a week for a month, they will receive at least 2.4 million. Lastly, Joo-hyuk tells them that they just need to work for 10 months in order to get 24 million won. It's just right for the settlement costs and simple compensation, isn't it? Joo-hyuk questions. Why is he treating us like some labor? They wonder. Pfft. Joo-hyuk laughs as he tells them not to look so down. He advises them to never do something like this. Then are you letting us go? The man asks happily as he sees hope of gaining freedom from Joo-hyuk. Joo-hyuk simply answers saying nope, that it is never gonna happen because life is reality and reality is harsh. The man says that it hasn't been long since they came up from Tongyong, so they didn't know the rules around here, so they ask for Sir Joo-hyuk's forgiveness. They tell Joo-hyuk to go easy on them while crying. You're from Tongyong? Tongyong of Gyeongsang-nam-do? And your school? Joo-hyuk asks. The man replies that he is a graduate of Mujin Elementary School, Mujin Middle School, and Mujin High School. After hearing this, Joo-hyuk introduces himself as Lee Joo-hyuk of the 22nd class of Mujin Middle School. One of the people suddenly remembers who Lee Joo-hyuk actually is, and he covers his mouth due to the sudden shock. Huh, do you know me? Joo-hyuk questions. The man replies that, of course he know Joo-hyuk because when they were freshmen, Joo-hyuk was the boss of the school. The man says that Joo-hyuk transferred during their first year and conquered the school until his third, receiving scout offers from other older brothers in gangs. Additionally, the man says that, as a middle schooler, Joo-hyuk fought against the students from Buksan High and won, and he was about to conquer Masan before suddenly disappearing. Aren't you that legendary male student? the man asks. Ju Hyuk wonders how can the rumors grow like that when he just put down some screwed students in their rightful place as they were picking a fight. What are you doing? Let's greet the legendary student, one of them shouts. They all introduce themselves. The spiky hair guy introduces himself as Choi Dong-cheol of the 24th class. The taller person who is wearing a shirt introduces himself as Kim Seo-koeb of the 24th class. Lastly, the black vest-wearing guy introduces himself as Go Xian-san of the 24th class. Ju Hyuk didn't expect that these guys will be his school juniors. Ju Hyuk says that then, it's more of a reason not to go easy on them. He tells them to work hard from tomorrow. Yes, sir, the juniors reply consecutively. Ju Hyuk tells them to give their phones and IDs as he will be confiscating them. Ju Hyuk says that he will hand over their ID to the chief. He asks them why they have come all the way to Seoul knowing the fact that Tongyang also has some organizations. Kim Seo-koeb informs that they have received a scout offer here. Ooh, so you guys did? From where exactly? Ju Hyuk asks. Dong-cheol replies that they received a scout offer from the Gangnam faction. Ju Hyuk gets a little flustered to hear the name of the Gangnam faction again. Seo-koeb explains that the Gangnam faction works as spies, and the faction have contracted them in order to scout them. Could it be the Gangnam faction that I know? Why would Ju Cheol-soo call these country pumpkins? Ju Hyuk questions himself. Ju Hyuk says that in his past life, in year 2005, at this time, Ju Cheol-soo united all the organizations south of the Han River. He then remembers that after uniting the South Han River, an incident unraveled. Ju Cheol-soo, to unite Seoul, that guy started a war. It was around 2006 and 2007, which means these hooligans here will be stabbed instead of meat shields. Ju Hyuk thinks that to local gangsters, the Gangnam faction's love call is an uninhabitable proposition. Hundreds of guys like them will come to Seoul. Half of them will become disabled, and at least 100 people will lose their lives. Until the end, the same fate will go to those who've risen tenaciously. In the end, they are only used and thrown away by the organization. Ow! My head hurts while thinking about it. What should I do in order to stop this? Ju Hyuk wonders. Seo-koeb asks whether Ju Hyuk is in another organization. Seo-koeb speaks seriously that they understand. Although they were invited by the Gangnam faction, the faction drastically shook them off. So, on behalf of the others, Seo-koeb speaks that they want to follow Ju Hyuk. In the next moment, they bow their head down and tell Ju Hyuk to take good care of them. After hearing this, Ju Hyuk gets shocked, but then he thinks that he came back to 2005 and is living as a normal citizen, but in his previous life, he joined the police. It was in 2008 when he entered the Gangnam faction to infiltrate, and in that year, the Lehman brothers exploded. After that, Ju Cheol-soo, who united Seoul, bought a crazy amount of real estate and stocks with the insane amount of cash he had then. From then onwards, he had become an untouchable man. So he realizes that in this life he actually has the time to break down Ju Cheol-soo. Good then. Hey, will you really be loyal to me? Ju Hyuk asks the trio. Of course, all of them shout simultaneously. Then, Ju Hyuk tells them to start working from tomorrow. Ju Hyuk finds it hard to remember the names of the trio, so he gives them nicknames. He says that he will call Seo-koeb by the name Muscle, then Choi Dong-cheol by the name Dwarf, and lastly, he will call Go Xian-san by the name Boar, Ju Cheol-soo, who has never been prosecuted in 15 years. Finally, Ju Hyuk can now finally deal with that guy who's the root of all evil. Additionally, he speaks while giving a phone to Seo-koeb that Cheol-soo is uncatchable by law. That's why this time Ju Hyuk will do it in his way. He tells Seo-koeb to come out immediately whenever and wherever he calls him. After some time, Ju Hyuk receives a message from Seo-koeb. The message goes like this. We've been thinking about older brother's intentions. It means a lot to create ourselves here instead of joining an organization. We will stop doing dirty work and stand behind you firmly. Please wait for us, big brother. Ju Hyuk gets angry to receive such an unnecessary message and considers whether he should take the phone back or not. Whatever, Ju Hyuk thinks that it's fine if the trio are like this. But the main problem ahead is that he needs to find a way to capture Ju Cheol-soo. Ju Hyuk realizes that if he wants to get Cheol-soo, he has to build his own power, and in order to do that, he will need money. Right now, he has 200 million won, and if he takes a loan with a lease as collateral, he could get up to 300 million won. So he will have a total of 500 million won, but he decides to increase it as much as possible. Isn't there anything that could help? Ju Hyuk wonders, and at that moment he hears the news because he didn't turn of the television. The news reporters inform that Dr. Hwang Woon-seok's stem cell research has responded positively, and if the research of a treatment method using embryonic stem cells is successful, transplantation without side effects will become possible. After listening to the news, Ju Hyuk suddenly remembers a major incident that he had forgotten. Ju Hyuk explains that it was considered to have made a mark in the history of science beyond the medical field. Dr. Hwang Woon-seok's stem cell research thesis. Dr. Hwang Woon-seok, who rose to fame for cloning animals. He published a paper saying that embryonic stem cells can be used to create parts of the human body. As this became known to the public, the study was carried out with the expectation of many people, including terminally ill people. But unfortunately, it was all a fraud. In the end, as soon as Dr. Hwang Woon-seok's study was revealed to be a lie, the stem cell stocks, which had been rising day by day, dropped into the abyss in an instant, together with the people's hopes. This is it, a perfect way for Ju Hyuk to earn money. The bubble popped after the fake thesis was revealed, but the stock still continued growing until then, so he thinks that 500 million won isn't enough, he needs to increase his hand. Ju Hyuk then goes to a place to get some loan. A middle-aged man wearing a yellow shirt asks Ju Hyuk what a young kid like him is doing in a place like this. "Are you the boss?" Ju Hyuk questions. Ju Hyuk says that he has nothing to talk about with mere lackeys. The man asks Ju Hyuk how did he get here and who provided him with the address. Ju Hyuk replies that he at least knows better than a middle-aged man, and he also says that he doesn't like repeating himself, but at that moment, the man tries to attack Ju Hyuk. After some time, some sounds are heard. "Ah! Wait, wait, wait! You'll rip my arms off! Stop! Stop! Ah!" The man begs for mercy while crying. Ju Hyuk says that he will give the man a last chance, so he must use it properly by giving some genuine answers, and if he doesn't do that, Ju Hyuk will either break the man's neck or his arm. "Where is the boss?" Ju Hyuk questions. At that time, the boss enters the scene and tells Ju Hyuk to come inside instead of creating a ruckus. As Ju Hyuk enters, his eyes fall on a man who is getting tortured. The boss calls the man by the name Choi. He tells Choi to go now as a customer has come, but he warns Choi by saying that next time he wants to see his money. Choi says thanks and quickly leaves the room. This scene makes Ju Hyuk really angry, but he controls himself. Ju Hyuk tells the boss that he should manage his employees. How dare they bare their teeth at a customer? Ju Hyuk questions. The boss says that he is double the age of Ju Hyuk, so Ju Hyuk must talk with manners when he is in front of an elder. Ju Hyuk asks whether he can borrow more money if he keeps up his manners. The boss laughs as he finds Ju Hyuk very interesting. He says that if Ju Hyuk keeps up the manners, he will let Ju Hyuk borrow double the normal amount. Ju Hyuk says that the boss should also keep his manner or else someone will die here. "Okay, I'll keep my manners." "Now how much would I be able to borrow, sir?" Ju Hyuk questions. The boss asks Ju Hyuk, how much does he need? Ju Hyuk replies that he will need as much as he can get. The boss asks that whether $8,000 will suffice. "Nope, what's the amount you can give to me right here, right now?" "What's the most I could get?" Ju Hyuk inquires. The boss asks Ju Hyuk whether he has a collateral. He says that he won't be able to give Joo-hyuk a lot if Joo-hyuk doesn't have any collateral. Joo-hyuk thinks that he has already given up his place as collateral, so he doesn't really have much, but there's still something these people consider as collateral. Joo-hyuk says that he will give his body as a collateral. Don't you people have contacts with butchers anyways? Joo-hyuk questions. Joo-hyuk then provides additional information that his blood type is O, and he has never done alcohol or cigarettes. There's no history of sickness in his family either. He asks whether it will be enough as collateral. You were in a gang before, weren't you? The boss questions while flinching. Joo-hyuk replies that he was in slums for a few years. The boss says that he wants to know the reason why Joo-hyuk is still choosing to get a loan in spite of knowing the fact, how things really go around here. Joo-hyuk replies angrily that he simply asked for money, not a drawn-out lesson. He says that he doesn't want to hear the boss's empty concerns. He just needs to know how much money he can receive. Both of them glare at each other for a moment, and after some time, the boss speaks up. He says that, with Joo-hyuk's eyes, liver, kidney, and everything else, it should amount to roughly $15,000. The boss then says that they should sign a contract. A contract? What will you do with a contract that won't hold any power in court? Joo-hyuk questions. He then takes out his national identity card and throws it at the table. Joo-hyuk reassures the boss by saying that if he doesn't pay back the money, the boss can come, find him and get all his money back with the collateral. Additionally, Joo-hyuk says that the money he will borrow will be $300,000, not $150,000. Wait, what? Why? The boss asks as he gets confused. Joo-hyuk reminds the boss by saying that he has kept his manners, so now he will borrow twice the loan money. He tells the boss to give the upfront loan of $300,000 in cash right now. Joo-hyuk receives the money and keeps it in his car. Then he leaves the area to reach his next destination. Currently, Joo-hyuk is in a cafe meeting with a stock trader. The stock trader says that he didn't think Joo-hyuk will be this much younger than him. He says that he had his fair share of risky investments, but it's his first time doing one with someone as young as Mr. Lee Joo-hyuk. The stock trader says that he brought his side of the transaction as stocks. Joo-hyuk says that he has cash. Joo-hyuk thinks that the first step in his plan to achieve his goal is to buy medicine posters at a cheap price. The representative stocks in stem cell research. This medicine poster is a category of currency yet to be registered in the current stock market. It's the quickest rising category after professors like Dr. Hwang Eun-seok announced their groundbreaking stem cell research. Before anything, Joo-hyuk has to stock up on medicine posters. Before the medicine posters go public on the Kosdaq market, Joo-hyuk says that he would like to make a deal. You told me that you'd do $20 per stock, was that right? The trader asks. The trader makes a sad face while saying that he is excited to sell his stock at that price, but he feels a little bad doing this type of deal with a young person like Joo-hyuk, because the public price for medicine posters was $10. Well, you're practically paying double the public, listed price. Do you believe the price of these posters will rise that much? Sir Joo-hyuk? The trader asks. Joo-hyuk says that of course it will rise, as the price of stocks changes by the second. It could be shit one day, and in a moment it could turn into gold. Joo-hyuk replies that he simply trusts Dr. Hwang Eun-seok. After carrying out the dealing, both of them go to the car parking area. The trader wishes Joo-hyuk a good day. The trader calls Joo-hyuk from the back and says that he has an advice for Joo-hyuk. The trader shares that it's been around 20 years since he has been making a living off the stock market. The trader says that he honestly looks at Joo-hyuk as if Joo-hyuk were his own son, so he tells Joo-hyuk not to get offended by what he is about to say. He tells Joo-hyuk not to be too greedy because there's a time to buy and a time to sell. With just enough profit, someone can overturn a few losses and make money. But if someone invests looking forward to make a fortune, normally that person will lose everything quickly. Ju Hyuk says thanks for such a wonderful advice. He smiles as he thinks that the trader is a good guy. Would you happen to have a business card? Ju Hyuk asks. The stock trader replies by saying of course. The trader tells Ju Hyuk to contact him whenever he has some inquiries. Then, both of them get in their cars. Ju Hyuk says that he is done with the first step, then he considers whether he should move on to the next step or not. Ju Hyuk calls Seokob. He says that he will give Seokob an address over text and orders them to go there at night. All right, sir. And where would this be? Seokob questions. Ju Hyuk replies that it's a nightclub. The trio think that they are in heaven. After seeing the trio's outfits, Ju Hyuk covers his eyes. He tells them that the moment they get inside, all of them better take those clothes off and throw them away. He says that he will give them a debit card, so they should get themselves a suit. After that, they go inside the nightclub, where they are greeted by the server named Shanho Park. Where would you like to go, sirs? Park asks. Ju Hyuk tells Park to prepare a table for them. Park then leads them to a table. Park asks whether they would like some strong drinks. Ju Hyuk replies that they'll each have a beer and 3 bottles of plain strong drinks. They'll also have some basic sides with that. Also, they don't need books as they have only come here to listen anyway. Ju Hyuk looks around the nightclub. He perceives that there are so many empty seats. A nightclub in Cheongdam-dong should be filled with people with a lot of foot traffic here, but it's empty, even though it's peak hours for a nightclub. He decides to take over this nightclub and turn it into a normal club. Currently, Ju Cheol-soo's acquiring his funds by running his illegal businesses in Gangnam. Ju Hyuk is sure that they're trying their best to recruit more thugs into their ranks, since they'll need a lot of money and men when their war goes full swing. Ju Hyuk thinks that he will create a club where he will provide hundreds of living meat shields, food, and a place to sleep. He wonders how much it'll cost to maintain something like this. But if Ju Hyuk's plan works, and a club opens in Cheongdam-dong, then all of Ju Cheol-soo's club investors in Seoul will rush to gather in this newly made one. In the end, Ju Cheol-soo's club will only attract flies. Ju Hyuk thinks that if things continue the way they are, there will soon be holes in Ju Cheol-soo's plan, and the person who will increase the number of holes will be Ju Hyuk. Ju Hyuk perceives that it'll be hard for Cheol-soo to keep up with the maintenance fees of the gangs he's taking care of, and it'll be impossible for Ju Cheol-soo to stick to his plans. Brother, why would you come to a nightclub if you weren't going to book a room? Seokob questions. Ju Hyuk replies that they will do holdouts in a nightclub instead of real estate. Then, shall we get started, boys? Ju Hyuk questions. Ju Hyuk introduces the term land speculation. It's the process of buying land in a planned redevelopment area in advance and selling it at a high price to the developers. If Ju Hyuk succeeds in nightclub land speculation as he plans, the guy who lost his funding line will not be able to execute his plan, but it seems to Ju Hyuk that Ju Cheol-soo is quite focused on carrying out his own task. Ju Hyuk thinks that this time, a war should never happen. As he gets out of the club, he notices that the trio is following him. Why do you guys keep following me around? Even though I told all of you to go home? Ju Hyuk questions. Dong Cheol says that they have a favor to ask. Sir, could you lend us 10,000 won? Dong Cheol requests. Ju Hyuk demands to know the reason for why they are suddenly requesting for the money. Seokob explains that they 3 live in a monthly rental room and they can't afford to pay the rent as they have almost spent all the money they brought. You 3 were living in a monthly room? Ju Hyuk repeats and tells them to follow him. The trio gets confused. In the next scene, Ju Hyuk takes them in his house and tells them to live here from today onwards. He provides them with a room. Seokob asks whether they could really stay here. Ju Hyuk replies that he hates to repeat himself, and additionally he says that he will provide them the food as well. Seokob says that they don't know how they can repay this kindness. Thank you, sir. All of them shout as they kneel down in front of their savior. Ju-hyuk tells them to quit making noises. In his room, Ju-hyuk gets surprised to see that he has already gotten 5 consecutive wins in the stock market. He says that maybe it's because he used to live on alcohol. He didn't realize that Dr. Hwang Woon-seok's influence was this big, as Ju-hyuk expected. Cloned dog Snuppy appeared, and all stem cell-related stocks are hitting their peak. Looking at the stock chart reminds Ju-hyuk of the old days. Gangsters don't hesitate to do all sorts of bad things. Among them, there is a so-called operation stock, and the method is as follows. Gradually acquire shares of a certain company, then ensnare security firms, brokers, or experts to attract individual investors, spread false information everywhere. When the rumor spreads enough to create a bullish rise graph, sell out everything and disappear without trace. Naturally, from then on, the stock price will drop endlessly. Ultimately, individual investors who came in believing false information will bear a huge loss. Ju-hyuk says that there must have been many people who took their own lives because of that. He says that he also used to live doing such things before he returned to the past under the pretext of performing a secret mission, but this time he won't let his past mistakes repeat itself. After some time, a new dilemma arises. He wonders when the perfect time will be to sell these stocks. He remembers how many times it rose, but he doesn't know when to sell out. His eyes falls on the card that he received from the stock trader. Previously, he didn't get the time to see the trader's name. He gets shocked when he sees a familiar name, John Hyo, written on the card. John Hyo? Is that guy John Hyo? Ju-hyuk shouts in excitement. The legend of the investment world! John! In Ju-hyuk's past life, he once calculated John Hyo's return on investment and almost fainted from surprise. John started with 10 million won, and by 35 years he made it to 24.65 billion with a steady profit of 25%. Wow. Unbelievable. Was I trading with such an amazing person? Ju-hyuk wonders in astonishment. He suddenly remembers John's word. He was told that there's also something like incremental selling, just like incremental buying. So when a decent profit is made, one must sell and keep the profit. Ju-hyuk smiles as he thinks that he will follow Sir John's advice while selling 10,000 shares. The total profit that he made, including the seed amount, is 2.91 billion won. Ju-hyuk thinks that knowing the future really is amazing. But it's still not enough. He would need at least 10 billion to transform a nightclub into a club. He needs to pay back the money he borrowed from the Yongguang loan. He wonders from where he can borrow some money. After thinking for some time, he smiles as he got the perfect idea. Then, shall we visit the glory loan again to repay the money? He decided his next move. At the glory lode, the same yellow shirt guy is torturing a middle-aged man. The man asks for mercy and says that he will repay the money right away. The yellow skirt guy tells the man to give some proof so that he can believe the man's words. The yellow shirt guy's face grew pale as he sees Ju-hyuk's entry. What's that? Turn on the light and live a bit. Are you guys some kind of children of darkness? Turn on the light and live a bit, Ju-hyuk says as he enters. One of the people asks Ju-hyuk, how does he get here? Ju-hyuk replies that he doesn't like to explain how he got here every time. He tells them to call the boss. Do you know where this is? Calling the boss casually. If you came to borrow money, you should be begging. Right? The person asks angrily. The yellow shirt guy tries to stop them, but they didn't listen. Ju-hyuk says that he is saying this for the last time. He tells them to bring the boss quickly, unless any one of them wants to get hurt. The man still doesn't listen, as he says that he will now educate Ju-hyuk and teach him some manners. Without wasting any time, Ju-hyuk single-handedly defeated all 3 of them in an instant. What are you doing locked up in the dark? Even though it's already our second meeting, your hospitality is still a mess, isn't it? Ju-hyuk questions while keeping his hand on the man's shoulder. Ju-hyuk says that he would give the man a perfect solution. He tells the man to get ready for a slap. Seeing Lee Joo-hyuk causing a ruckus, one of the team members goes outside and calls their boss. Inside, Lee Joo-hyuk is slapping the man continuously. Seeing the three men in white sleeveless t-shirt, gets scared and starts to shake. Getting hit by Lee Joo-hyuk, the man's face gets sore and he is about to lose his consciousness. At that time, Lee Joo-hyuk hears a man shouting at him to stop. He turns back and sees that the boss has arrived and is mad at him. Hearing the words of the boss, Lee Joo-hyuk says that how can he be so harsh towards someone who has come to pay his back? Lee Joo-hyuk then shows a luggage to the boss and asked him that if he should leave or they should send anyone who doesn't belong here. The boss gets red in anger and shouts at the man wearing a black t-shirt. He goes towards him and tells him to get out. The both of them then gets inside a room and sits on the sofa. Lee Joo-hyuk puts the luggage on the table and tells the boss to check out. The boss gets shocked as he opens the luggage as the luggage is filled with cash and it contains 33 million won. Lee Joo-hyuk then tells him that he has also taken care of the 10% interest. Hearing this, the boss gets happy and says that he is a total bastard. Lee Joo-hyuk smiles and tells him that he is not his bastard and asked him to quickly get the contract. At that time, the man that got slapped by Lee Joo-hyuk gets inside with cups of coffee. Hearing Lee Joo-hyuk's words, the boss gets angry and tells him to shut up. Lee Joo-hyuk didn't say anything and takes up the coffee cup and looks at it. After that, he just throws the hot coffee on the boss' face. The boss starts to shout as it burns his face and eyes. Lee Joo-hyuk looks at the man and thanks him for bringing the coffee. Lee Joo-hyuk then looks at the boss angrily and says, "Oh, boss, I just know you loan sharks so well that I just can't talk to you nicely. Do you think normal citizens can pay back 200% or 300% interest rate? If they can't pay you back, you go find them at work and harass them and loiter around. You pick a fight for no reason and then thrash them around. Finally, you only let it end by robbing them of anything they call wealth, right? The one who borrowed isn't all great either. But the debtor is a total son of a female dog, too." Hearing the words of Lee Joo-hyuk, the boss cannot control his anger, so he takes out a knife from his coat's pocket and tries to stab Lee Joo-hyuk with it. But to his surprise, Lee Joo-hyuk caught the knife, and with his foot, he pushed the luggage which hit the boss's legs. As the boss holds his legs in pain at that time, Lee Joo-hyuk takes the knife and by swinging it, he tells the boss that he must have been a thug for a long time, as he is carrying a knife and uses it to stab a man to death. In pain, the man asked Lee Joo-hyuk that who is he. Lee Joo-hyuk smiles and says that he is a debtor who has come here to pay him back. After a while, they both settle down, and Lee Joo-hyuk asked the boss that where did he used to work. The boss refused to tell, and he bad-mouths him. Lee Joo-hyuk gets angry, and he grabs a hand of the boss and puts it on the table. Then by raising the knife, he tells the boss to stay still or his fingers will be gone. The boss gets scared and tells Lee Joo-hyuk to wait, but he didn't give a shit to his words and pokes the knife beside the boss's fingers. Seeing this, the boss screams as he gets horrified by seeing the scene. The boss then speaks out, "Everything," and Lee Joo-hyuk stops his actions. The boss says that he used to work under the Southwestern Faction leader. Southwestern Faction Leader 5. To 6 years ago, a group merged with the Gangnam Gang, probably. If a group is taken over by another head, the group itself naturally is no more. In that case, these thugs be forced to choose one of the two, continue working as a thug for the new group or leave the group with a reasonable severance pay. It seems he's one of the latter. Lee Joo-hyuk thinks all of them. After that, he asked him that, why did he leave his life as a gangster, and did he not want to work under Joo Cheol-soo? Hearing this, the boss made a shocking face. Lee Joo-hyuk asked him that, why is he so shocked, and if he don't know that Joo Cheol-soo has a firm grip on Gangnam? With a sweetie face, the boss asked Lee Joo-hyuk that, who is he and if he is a police officer? No way, do you think a police officer would do this? Tell me why you left the group. Lee Joo-hyuk replied, Hearing the reply, the boss says that the guy Ju Cheol-soo is a very scary man. Saying this, he takes a pause. Lee Ju-yuk gets the situation. He then asked him that if he slowly wants to end this life now. "What do you mean?" the boss replied. "Filthily playing with the debtors. I'll end it for you. Make a lot of quick bucks. One last time and settle down." Lee Ju-hyuk replied. The boss gets excited and tells him to break it down completely. Lee Ju-hyuk asked him that how much he has right now. The boss says, including everything he has, 6.5 billion won. Lee Ju-hyuk then tells him to take all of his money and invest it where he is investing, and he will give him 30% profits. The boss asked him that, how much is 30% profit? You can use 50% of your investment. If you invest 6.5 billion, your profit is 3.25 billion. 30% of that is at least 1 billion. Take that, and along with what you have, retire. Lee Ju-hyuk said this to the boss. Hearing this, the boss smiles and asks that if he is telling him to retire with this. If you don't want to, that's fine, but you know the money-lending business you have right now. Did you get Ju Cheol-soo's permission for it? As Gangnam Gang has control over Gangnam and Seocho districts, Songpa is kind of an ambiguous location. But do you think Ju Cheol-soo would think that Songpa is my territory as well? How dare you do business without telling me? Wouldn't he do this? Lee Ju-hyuk says. The boss gets afraid and begs Lee Ju-hyuk not to do that. Lee Ju-hyuk tells him that he will wait and see what he do first, and in return of that he has to invest. The boss thinks for a bit and tells Lee Ju-hyuk that in 1 week he will prepare 6.5 billion won in cash. Lee Ju-hyuk gets happy and says that it's a deal. After that he gets up and starts to leave. While he was leaving, the boss stops him and tells him that if he thinks he will, he's safe. After this, Lee Ju-hyuk replied that he will be safe. The boss now makes an angry face and says that if he has forgotten his background, and from now on he'll have to watch his back for his whole life. Lee Ju-hyuk opens the door and tells him to do whatever he wants. Instead, if he end up doing it, make sure he succeed, because if he don't, he will surely kill him. As Lee Ju-hyuk leaves, the boss lies on the sofa and puts ices ones on both of his legs. His subordinate then tells him that they should gather up their guys from the southwestern faction. The boss thinks for a while and tells the guys not to mess with Lee Ju-hyuk. The subordinate gets shocked and asks him if he will just let this matter slide away. The subordinate then sits on the sofa and says that it is bullshit to make an investment as that guy is a total thug. "Are we not gangsters too?" the boss asked. Hearing this, the subordinate gets silent. The boss then sits down and tells him that Lee Ju-hyuk is a veteran. Hearing the word veteran, the man starts to sweat. The boss says that Lee Ju-hyuk has lived a rough life. He don't know where he's from, but that guy's definitely a veteran, and that's not his first time shanking someone. And if they mess with him, they could end up leaving this world without anyone finding out about it. The subordinate gets afraid after hearing this. The boss then lights up the cigarette and tells him to pray as they invest. The boss then asked him that if his hometown is Chungjun, the man replied, yes. By extinguishing the cigarette, the boss tells him that after everything is settled, they will go there. The boss further says that he is from Ullyeongdo Island, but he doesn't want to go to that island. After that, we can see Lee Ju-hyuk is in the car and is thinking about the amount of the investment. He has raised 9.5 billion won, but it is not enough. So he thinks of John Heo and calls him by typing the number on the business card. John Heo answers the call, and after Lee Ju-hyuk talks to him, he recognizes him, and they fixed a meeting on the next day. In the next morning, the two of them meets up at a cafe. Lee Ju-hyuk first thanks him for serving him the coffee. They sit and talks for a bit. After that, Lee Ju-hyuk gets on to the main purpose of this meeting. He tells John Heo that he is here to question him about the stock market. John Heo agrees and tells him to ask him whatever he wants to know. Lee Ju-hyuk asked him that what he think is the probability that Madison Poster will fall. John Heo takes a pause and tells him that the probability is 99%. Lee Ju-yuk makes a serious face and asked him that why did he thinks that way. Because a company with no results to show for rose way too far. Just because of the stem cell keyword, its offering of rice. Skyrocketed to almost 10 times, so of course it's going to drop. We've already seen results with cloned dogs, so there's not much growth to speak of, Jeonheo replied. Hearing the reply, Lee Ju-hyuk gets happy as Jeonheo meets his expectations. After taking a sip of the coffee, Jeonheo says to Lee Ju-hyuk that given that he is asking him about the chances of it falling, he is guessing he is thinking about loan transactions. Lee Ju-hyuk replied that he is right. If the stock falls, you can choose the route of making profit from loan transactions, also called short selling a stock. Fall of Madison Poster is anticipated. That means the loan transaction's profit is 100% certain. Thinking for a while, Lee Ju-hyuk says to Jeonheo that he thinks Madison Poster will 100% fall. So to make more profit on his investment, he got in touch with him. By Lee Ju-hyuk words, Jeonheo gets that he wants to borrow money. So Jeonheo tells him that right now he can only give him 10 billion won. Lee Ju-hyuk replied that that's not enough and he needs more. He further tells him that he will give him half the profits and ensures that Madison Poster will definitely fall. And he don't want to miss this chance. Definitely, you say. I think Madison Poster is 99% likely to fall, but you think as if it's a sure thing. The stock market has a 1% variable that can never be ascertained. Because of that, we don't know what'll happen with Madison Poster stock. What will you do if you face a loss? Jeonheo tells this to Lee Ju-hyuk. Lee Ju-hyuk replies that he has 9.5 billion in funds. In case that variable causes the loss to exceed 9.5 billion, he will dispose of all those stocks and repay all the money he borrowed from him. He also further says that there's an old proverb that says, "Don't bet on your win if you're not sure." In other words, doesn't that mean that the moment you're sure, you must bet on your win? Seeing the spirit of him, Jeonheo gets inspired and makes a deal that he will invest on him. After the meeting, Lee Ju-hyuk went home and starts working on his PC. Now the total funds he has is 25.9 billion. He has used all of it in the loan transaction. Now, as he is about to look at the status of the Madison Poster stocks at that time, somebody starts to knock his door. He goes and opens it and sees that his 3 members are there, and their faces are completely beaten up. He takes them to the hall and gives them first aid, and after that he asks them that who did this to them. The tall guy tells him that the servicemen did this to them when they came to stop the construction. Why would they stop a building construction that's going fine? Lee Ju-hyuk asked. They replied that they didn't know anything about that. The fat guy tells him that the servicemen comes with iron rods and forcefully caused a mess to stop the construction. Was it Ju Cheol-soo? No. Now's not the time for him to proactively jump into the construct industry. Yet right now, he's focused on the adult entertainment industry. Don't tell me are some other people breaking in? Lee Ju-hyuk thinks this, and after that he asks the boys that if the chief is also hurt. The tall guy replied that the chief also took a few hits. Lee Ju-hyuk gets angry by hearing this. He asked them if they know exactly who did this. I saw it clearly. It said Moon Chang Construction Materials in the back, the blue shirt boy said. Hearing this, Lee Ju-hyuk gets up and starts to walk towards his room. He tells the boys that they have worked hard and tells them to take a shower and sleep, saying this. He gets inside the room. In the early stages of construction, all sorts of corruption occurs as gangsters extort profits. But if you start building without all of that, they use a different method. One such example is the construction materials. Thugs force and threaten building owners to purchase construction materials from them, but the materials they provide are all grade B or worse. Naturally, the landlord rejects the purchase, and when that happens, they can then go on a rampage and stop the construction. Due to the nature of construction work, which suffers loss. The longer it is delayed in the end, The building owner is forced to use those guys' low-quality materials with tears in his eyes. Lee Ju-yuk search on the net and founds their site. Then, in the next morning's 5 a.m., Lee Ju-yuk takes his car and goes to the building. He also brought along some gears with him. He gets the gears on and gets ready to get inside the building. The workers are chilling in the room as they see Ju-hyuk. They tells him to go out as this is not a public place. Ju-hyuk ignores them and looks around the room. One of the workers gets up and shouts at him to quickly get out of this room. Ju-hyuk again ignores them and starts to talk to himself. He says that this is a fall company and they didn't even display their goods and they also have zero sincerity. The worker gets mad and tells him that, what the hell he is babbling around. Lee Ju-hyuk tightens his fist and asks the workers that if there are 7 of them or more, will come. The worker gets confused and asks Ju-hyuk that for which gang he works for. Ju-hyuk replied that he works for none and he is an orphan. The worker gets furious and warns him not to play pranks on him. Lee Ju-hyuk then punched at the chin of the worker so hard that he flies away. Seeing this scene, the other workers get shocked. Lee Ju-hyuk adjusts his hat and asks the rest of the workers about their boss. He then closed the door and takes the chair from the floor and put it below the door lock. After doing this, he gives a dead glare at the workers and tells them to get ready for a nice beating. Some of the workers get scared by seeing these, and some gathers courage and grab their tools and rushed to attack Ju-hyuk. As one of the men attacks with his hammer, Ju-hyuk dodges it and kicks the man right in the stomach. He then knocks out the man with a nice uppercut. He then beats all the workers one by one. The workers are all holding their stomach and are screaming out in pain. Lee Ju-hyuk goes to one of the workers and tells him that they shouldn't have messed with innocent civilians. He also says that he wouldn't have gone this far if he hadn't heard that the chief is injured. The worker looked at Ju-hyuk's face and asked him that what kind of a guy is he. Ju-hyuk didn't reply to him and rather asked if he is the boss. The silence of the worker gave him his answer. Ju-hyuk looks at the worker and smiles and tells him that it doesn't matter who he is as long as he can use him to set an example. Saying this, Ju-hyuk takes a pen and puts it below the middle finger of the worker. He then stands up and asked him that when is his boss coming. The worker gets nervous and he asked Ju-hyuk that what he means by this. As the worker says this, Lee Ju-hyuk steps on the worker's hand, and the worker screams like hell. Ju-hyuk then asked him that why didn't he answer when he asked him a question. At that time, somebody come and starts to knock the door. Outside, we can see the boss and some other workers are waiting. The boss is shouting on them. He tells them to call the other workers and quickly open this door. One of the workers tells the boss that there are noises coming from inside the room. At that time, Lee Ju-hyuk opens the door and tells the boss that he is quite late. The boss asked him that who is he? Lee Ju-hyuk smiles and opens the door more, and by showing the beaten workers, he tells the boss that he is the Reaper who's here to slash his throat. After that, Lee Ju-hyuk beats the boss and make his face swollen. Ju-hyuk asks the boss that if he is doing wrong, forcing the constructors buy his old and damaged goods and materials. The boss agrees that he is doing it. Hearing this, Ju-hyuk again punched him and starts to hit him continuously on the face. He says to the boss that for this kind of work, the Seongsu Bridge collapsed, Sampung Mall also collapsed, and because of this, people close to him were hurt. Saying this, he hits the boss so hard that he falls on the floor. He tells the boss that his 3 guys lost their senses and get sick because of their beating, and the chief also had to go get a psyche therapy. Ju-hyuk then gives a devil's smile and tells him that he will have to compensate for all the damages they have done, and the amount for that is 600 million won. Ju-hyuk tells the boss guy to prepare this money by tomorrow morning. The boss gets shocked and tells Ju-hyuk that now he is being too harsh on him. And wasn't shit you people did until now not harsh, calling in thugs and threatening unwilling landlords and forcing them to use inferior materials? Wasn't that harsh? Just know that if you bring a bond or any evidence, I'll burn it, and if you don't get the cash tomorrow, it'll be doubled. Ju-hyuk tells this to the boss and takes his leave. Ju-hyuk gets to his home and starts to see the stocks. The stocks of Madison Poster has fallen to 0.1 million due to Lee Ju-hyuk's loan transaction. Now he has gotten into his profit zone. The little guy from his group tells him to explain it a bit, as he did understand it. The big guy also asked to him that how did he make money, as he has only heard that one makes money from stock market, when the stock's value gets up. Lee Ju-hyuk says to them that he will show them an example so that they can easily understand. He tells them to give him 5,000 won. He takes the 5,000 won and gives them 5,000 won. Lee Ju-hyuk then asks them that what happens now. The big guy tells him that he has stolen 5,000 won from him. Lee Ju-hyuk is having a hard time while explaining this to them. At that time, the little guy spoke up, "So what you mean is you borrow stocks at 10,000 won and return them at 5,000 won, and the difference of 5,000 won stays with you as profit, right?" Lee Ju-hyuk replied that it's correct, and he praises the little guy for understanding it right away. The little guy gets happy and says that he may look like this, but he was a good student in middle school, and if not for his dad's credit card debt, he would have even gone to a college in Seoul. After that, the three guys starts to gossip and laugh. Lee Ju-hyuk looks at the guy and thinks that he's a victim of the credit card crisis, and so now he wants to get this guy to study. Lee Ju-hyuk asked the guy that if he had graduated from the high school. The guy replied, yes. Hearing the reply, Ju-hyuk tells him to stop going on to the site from tomorrow. The little guy gets confused and asked Ju-hyuk what he means. "I'll speak with the captain and see if I can get you assigned to the General Affairs and Accounting Department. Learn the work from there," Ju-hyuk replied. Hearing this, the other guys congratulates him and gets happy on his promotion. As they were enjoying, Lee Ju-hyuk tells them to go and sleep. Early as tomorrow, they will have to go somewhere in the morning. They asked Ju-hyuk that where they will go. Ju-hyuk replies that they will go to Moonchang Construction Materials to get his money. Then at dawn, they goes in front of Moonchang office. The little guy was there. The whole night, his task is to watch how many people gets inside. Then at dawn, Lee Ju-hyuk comes and asked him about the situation. The little guy replied that 33 people went inside the building. Lee Ju-hyuk then asked the other two guys that if they are ready to go. The guys replied, yes. He then tells the little guy to take rest. The little guy said no, as he will to go with them. Seeing his spirit, Ju-hyuk smiles and tells them to get ready and follow him. The four of them get closer to the building and hides behind a car. Lee Ju-hyuk then tells the fatty to light up the bottle and throw in on the building. Inside the building, there are lots of men on black suit. They are talking with each other, and some are arguing. At that time, the bottle with fire breaks the window and lands on the floor. The bottle breaks, and the liquid inside it gets spread, and the fire also gets spreads on the building. All the men get scared, and they starts to hurry down the stairs. At the end of the stairs, the subordinates of Lee Ju-hyuk are standing with bats in their hand. The big guy strikes first and knocks out one of the men. The fatty also joins the fight with his steel rod. The two of them beats a lot of guys. The boss sees this and gets scared and decides to run away from another route. He gets up to the upper floor and opens one window and jumps from there. He falls on the van and hurts his hips. He lands in front of Ju-hyuk. Ju-hyuk grabs the man's hair tightly and pulls them. He then gets closer to the man and tells him that he is supposed to pay him back, but he brought along some friends. As he ignored his goodwill, so now he has to settle it with money. Lee Ju-hyuk and his boys take all the men along with Moonchang inside the building. The three boys are dealing with the black-suited men, and Moonchang is begging Lee Ju-hyuk. Moonchang asked Lee Ju-hyuk that why would he own him 600 million. Well, okay, I get that it's a bit too much, but bringing those bastards here, it's kind of fucked up, no say. I went in without knowing anything. I would have died by now. Thus, you'd be on charges for gang assault and attempted murder. Wanna take this to court? Also, I don't have assault charges on myself, unlike you. Who do you think the judge will believe? Lee Ju-hyuk tells this Moonchang. Moonchang gets afraid and starts to sweat. Seeing this, Lee Joo-hyuk shows him his locker and tells him to open it. Without a single word, Mun Chang opened it. Inside the locker, there are lots of cash of different currency, and there are also few gold bars. Joo-hyuk then calls the little guy in his group. You're meant to keep your money safe like this, not keeping it in the form of just cash or gold, but a mixture of both. If the Korean won gets unstable, use us dollars and Japanese yen, and if the entire world's economy turns to shit. Gold. Got it? Lee Joo-hyuk tells all of this to the little guy, and the little guy understands this way of handling wealth. Joo-hyuk then tells his boys to get all the money and gold on the bags, and he tells Mun Chang to follow him. According to his words, the three boys starts to gather money in the bags, and Mun Chang obediently followed him. As the two of them gets to a side, Mun Chang asked Joo-hyuk that where did he come from and who is letting him pull all this shit. Lee Joo-hyuk replies that he is from Korea and he got no one's back up. Every person with a decent reputation went under Jode Cheol-su's wing. That's why these no-namers are trying to get some attention, and Mun Chang is one of them. In the meantime, the three boys had taken all the cash and gold. Seeing this, Joo-hyuk tells them that they should leave now as their work is done here. Lee Joo-hyuk tells Mun Chang to never meet him again, and he has left some cash for him to use. While leaving, Lee Joo-hyuk threatens Mun Chang that if he ever sees him, he will find him in the bottom of the Han River. Later, Joo-hyuk goes home and again opens his PC and look at the stock. The stock has fallen to 80K, but after a while it rises above 85K. Seeing this, Lee Joo-hyuk gets tensed. As if the stock rises too much, he will be totally messed up. He will have to sell all the stocks and pay back John Heo. After that, he will be bankrupt. Joo-hyuk starts to find a way to get out of this mess. After browsing the net for a bit, he finds something. He quickly notes something down and takes a hoodie and get out. He goes to a phone booth and calls reporter Shin Chong from the PD notes. He tells the reporter that the academic report Hwang Woon-seok professor presented on is all fake. There is no embryonic stem cell in the first place. Joo-hyuk also tells the reporter to go to Miss Lady Maternity Hospital, as he will find out everything there. After that, he hangs the call and gets out of the booth and thinks that when will PD notes make news on this? 1 week later, while Joo-hyuk is watching the TV, he sees that the news of Madison poster is out, and he gets shocked to see that how fast the PD notes work. As the truth behind Professor Hwang Woon-seok came into view. The stocks, which was worth 100K, is now barely 20K. The market price of the nightclub was 200 million. Joo-hyuk is looking forward to how much 305 million will inflate by, but then again, his 30% profit will go to Glory Loan. As previously, he told the boss of the Glory Loan that he is going all in on this investment and he will give the boss 30% of the profit. Also, he promised John Heo 50% of the profit. Thing is, Joo-hyuk is not sure if he will be able to buy the nightclub and pay for renovation with the remaining money. As he is trying to find a way to earn more money, his doorbell rings and he goes to open the door. "Who might you be?" Joo-hyuk questions. The man replies that he is the owner Jeongun Properties. Joo-hyuk remembers that Jeongun Properties is where that trio worked before. Joo-hyuk tells the man to come inside. He says sorry because he has got only coffee for his guest. The man humbly accepts Joo-hyuk's coffee. Joo-hyuk notices that the man is wearing high-quality suit with a matching antique watch. The stuff he has on him right now must be worth at least a few million, but he's quite humble. The man shares that he heard Joo-hyuk's stories from the chief. He says thanks to Joo-hyuk for handling the matters regarding the Mun Chang construction materials. The man is talking about the recent time when Joo-hyuk beat the hell out of Park Mun Chang. Joo-hyuk laughs as he says that it was nothing. He only gave Park Mun Chang a gentle warning. Nothing more, nothing less. The man sadly says that those bad guys screwed with his company every day while taking out a document from his bag. He gives the file to Joo-hyuk. Joo-hyuk sees that it's a bearer bond. Bearer bonds are fixed income securities owned by whoever holds the physical bond certificate, providing anonymity and privacy to bondholders. He tells Joo Hyuk to accept it as a compensation. Joo Hyuk thinks that back when he was out and about, it was gone from the market. So it was rare to see one. He sees that there's 50 million notes in there. What? Joo Hyuk questions. The man replies that it only shows their sincerity towards Joo Hyuk. 50,000 bonds multiply by 20. It will give him 1,000 won. This guy, is he for real? Joo Hyuk wonders in astonishment. Joo Hyuk says that he guesses that the man had a lot of trouble over those guys. The man replies that Joo Hyuk doesn't even know even half of what happened. He gets frustrated as he shares the story. He says that once his co-workers started building, but those guys came over and poured their materials in somehow. As a result, the man suffered a great loss. The man says that last time, those guys brought in a goddamn mixer truck and poured in their concrete. They'd do that and demand money since their concrete was mixed in. The owner says that he turned a new leaf and actually rejected them properly this time. But after that, an incident happened. Those guys started threatening the owner with a photo of his wife and daughter. The owner says that it was the last straw and he really wanted to kill them. But I couldn't do that. After saying this, the man grabs Joo Hyuk's hands and says that he is thankful to Joo Hyuk. Thank you. Thank you. So much, the man repeats, as he doesn't found any other word to express his gratitude. Hearing the word thank you so many times, Joo Hyuk remembers his past. He used to listen the sentence, I am sorry, rather than thank you. He had lived such a disgusting life, he had never heard the word thank you. He thinks that the word police was wasted on him. The man explains that he views Joo Hyuk as a savior who removed the cancer from his life. So he requests Joo Hyuk to accept it, as he wants to show his gratitude in some way. Joo Hyuk humbly declines by saying that he only did what had to be done. He is more than happy by seeing what it brought to the owner. The owner gives a new suggestion. He says that when the building will get complete, he will leave the first floor empty for Joo Hyuk. Joo Hyuk thinks that the owner is taking it too far, but then he decides to says that there's actually a business that he wants to start. The owner eagerly wants to know what kind of business. Joo Hyuk explains that he is planning to buy a nightclub in Gangnam, and that he will renovate it into a normal club. Joo Hyuk says that he is lacking just a bit of investment money to actually start it, so he is planning to go to the bank. The man replies that he will pay for it. He tells Joo Hyuk to give a call whenever he needs money. Joo Hyuk gets happy and thinks that whatever goes around comes around. Next morning, he notices that the stocks are actually bungee jumping. He feels relieved that he has already all of his holding, with a return rate of 92%. He received total 58.56 billion. He is now probably the first individual to make this much money off balance trading. He calculates John Hio's loan money plus the 50% of profits, 9.2 billion, and to the chief of Yongkwang Loans, 30% of profits. He really don't want to send this over, but he thinks that he gotta keep promises. Minus everything else, all he has left is roughly 17 billion. He thinks that he can't even buy the nightclub with that, but it really doesn't matter anymore, thanks to that man. Jo Jong-gun from Jong-gun Properties, everything is solved. Then he gets on his car as he decides to pay off his loans. He enters the glory loan and kicks the suitcase near the boss while telling them to keep their money. The boss orders the yellow shirt guy, whose name is Kim, to check the money. After checking, Kim informs that including the original loan, total 8.2 billion, it's all there. Oh, Yongkwang chief. Joo Hyuk calls the boss by his name. What? Yongkwang asks. Joo Hyuk informs that he is cutting his ties with them after this. He then checks the time and says it already time for a certain someone to arrive. Seo Koeb enters while saying that he has brought the person. The person is none other than Park Mun-chong. By bringing Park Mun-chang here, Ju-hyuk intends to scare the boss. Young Kwang, dear boy, watch what happens to people who end up breaking their promise. Do you ever want to be in a situation like this? Think for yourself, my boy. Ju-hyuk questions while beating the shit out of Mun-chang. Ah! Ah! Mun-chang shouts in pain while bleeding. Ju-hyuk says that when he asked his guys to sniff Mun-chang out, he thought it'd take a while. Heerly did warn Mun-chang, so he thought Mun-chang would be long gone by now. You were looking for an office in Bundong. Really now? Heh! Looking to start a new construction company? Plop in a straw in the new city being constructed in Bundang? Ju-hyuk consequently questions. Why the hell do you care? Mun-chang shouts while spitting. So you can really take hits, huh? Ju-hyuk asks Mun-chang.